Yeah, it feels good. We've been here 3 times and we never got the pole yet. And after that crash this morning, we're a little leery. I think the car's not working too bad. We're not going to play with it. We're going to leave it alone and go with what we got for the feature.
Our next event is a heat race with only the top 3 cars advancing to the feature. Now, these are short sprints, and I guess the drivers carry less fuel in order to keep their cars as light as possible.
And it's a highly volatile gas they use too, Bill, known as methanol. They actually use it because it helps the car run cooler. And look out, we got problems at corner number 2. That 0 car, John Shercliffe, looked like he was losing it coming out of turn 2. That's right, and looks like the caution flag's coming out.
We have a driver's view of this track from Craig Hill's car. We have radio contact with him. Craig, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you, Bill.
I guess all that happened behind you.
Well, as long as it happens behind me, I couldn't care less about it, Bill. I'm just hanging on out here trying to win this race. We got a green. I'll talk to you later.
Okay, wow, what a great ride down the front straight. You can see how bumpy the track is and how Craig has to fight the car through the corner.
Yeah, and he must take that high groove too and hug the wall in order to set that car up for the next corner.
That was a first-hand lesson on car control for all you aspiring race drivers.
Right now, Craig is being chased by that number 24 car, and right behind him is a battle between number 81, Johnny Pennell, and number 84, Bill Sager, with Pennell coming out on top at the start-finish line. And it's obvious Pennell is not content with 3rd spot as he now challenges the number 24 car on the outside. But number 84, Sager, moves under him, and that's a great race for 3rd spot.
Don't count out 9X Don Adams. He's also shooting for that all-important 3rd position.
And we've got a spin out on the back chute. That's number 39, Tom Bird, and that brings out another yellow flag.
And there's 44, Jim Shercliffe, parking it in the infield. And we're back racing as Craig Hill takes the green. And there's 84, Bill Sager, pulling away from Pennell to take 3rd.
But look at Pennell worry that number 84 car is Sager. Boy, this is a classic battle between a traditional upright and an Indy-style car. And on the inside, Don Adams challenges Pennell. This is great nose-to-tail action as we're working it now on the last lap. Sager, followed by Pennell, and number 9X, Tim Adams.
Well, the checkered flag is out, and first across the line is 35, Craig Hill, followed by 24, Rick Taylor, and 84, Bill Sager, just beats out a very game John Pennell. These 3 drivers will advance to the feature, and as the track is cleared, we're ready for the last chance race to determine the final placings in our Budweiser Super Bowl final.
That's right, Bill. 22 cars will start that race, won last year by Steve McKnight, who has since moved up on his career to the Super Modified class.
And that will be our next race here at Barrie Speedway, 50 laps of wheel-to-wheel 3/4 midget action. Welcome back to Barrie Speedway in Southern Ontario and the Budweiser Super Bowl of Midget Racing, presented by Castrol XLR. The cars are lined up now in the final starting positions with Dave McKnight Jr. from Brampton, Ontario on the pole. Next to him on the outside front row is number 6, Randy Verhoost. And on row 2 from Shelbyville, Indiana, just 30 miles from the famous Indy Oval, is Wendell Barber. Alongside Barber is another Canadian from nearby Stouffville, Ontario, number 83, Danny Bound. Here's the rest of the 22-car starting grid with a good mixture of American and Canadian teams, most of whom belong to the Can-Am Midget Club. This must be one of the oldest organized clubs in North America because this is their 21st year in operation.
And there's one of its youngest members, David McKnight Jr., getting a push start from one of the volunteer Jeep starter trucks that have traveled all the way up from Ohio to help out with this event. White flag shows, and that means there's just 1 lap to go before the start.
Well, it's all up to these 2 front row drivers to keep in perfect formation in order to get a good start. But I'm sure that number 06, Dave McKnight, is used to being in that position.
And the adrenaline starts to pump up as the field looks at the starter, and we get a green flag with McKnight being dragged down into corner number 1 by number 6, Randy Verhoost. We got Barber in the 28 car, followed by number 83, Danny Bound, 9X Adams, and Carson, your 86 points leader so far this season, pulling up into 3rd place. They work it now, down into corner 1, slipping and sliding. Look at the bumping.
Wow, that's number 75, Dave Carson, almost losing it in corner 3. He almost took out the number 5 car, Keith Dempster, and Craig Hill right behind in 9th spot.
That Craig's having quite a duel with the number 1 car, Arnie Bray, and Bray has moved ahead of him into 8th spot. You got to be impressed with this Verhoost guy. He's from Wayne, New Jersey in a 500 Polaris, and he's holding his own with McKnight. But Dave seems to be able to pass inside, outside, and he just seems a little bit too strong. And there he goes on the outside, taking Verhoost into corner number 3. And Bill, it didn't take him long to get back up into first place, just like the shootout.
No, it surely did not. Let's take another look at that pass by Dave McKnight Jr. It looks like he's just got too much power on those short straights for the other cars.
McKnight's pulling away from the American Verhoost, and he looks to be really hooked up. Very, very impressed. I can't help but be impressed with the... Wait a minute now. We got a problem here with Randy Verhoost. Something dropped off his car.
I think it's part of his exhaust system. Yep, and it's rolling right down on the racing line. Let's try and contact Craig Hill now. Craig, let's have your impressions of the race.
Yeah, I got you, Bill. I hear you. It's a little rough back here at the moment. It's slippery on the outside, but we got lots of time to get to the front, so we'll stay at it here.
Thanks, Craig. We're all ready for the restart. Here's Gary Wickett with the call.
And as we pick it up at the restart with McKnight simply dominating this field with his power and finesse. After his accident in practice, I really didn't think he'd be the dominating factor he is today, but he is obviously hooked up here today as Verhoost, despite his problems, chases in second place.
Oh, no! More exhaust problem. That's second place Randy Verhoost again, who has dropped part of his exhaust manifold. And we're going to try and contact Craig Hill again. Craig, can you hear me?
I got you, Bill, yeah.
What's happening? What's happening out there?
I don't know, but somebody must be trying to lighten their car up up front or something. Anyways, we missed it.
Gary, that's nice to know that he managed to get around that piece of debris.
Yeah, a good piece of defensive driving, Bill. Okay, we're back to green with McKnight leading. And we got a good dice as well between Verhoost and fellow American Barber as they snake it down the back straightaway. Look at those two, Barber and Verhoost. Almost wheel to wheel going into corner number 3. Back down the start-finish line with McKnight firmly in the lead. 28 Barber beside him. We got number 75 Carson coming up alongside Verhoost now. Well, they touched wheels into the infield, slipping and sliding goes the 75 car Carson.
Davey Carson manages to keep it running, though, after that wicked spin. He's ready to get back in, but he's a lap down now as the leaders go past. I imagine that it's a bit hard to keep your concentration after a kind of spin like that, Gary.
You're right, Bill, and it really tends to shake you up quite a bit. We got a battle now between Bray and Verhoost on backstraight. Oh, we got a bump. There's a bump by Bray and Verhoost as Bray battles him coming out of corner number 4 down the start-finish line, and he takes him.
There's the race order with Dave McKnight in a commanding lead, followed by Barber, Bray, Bound, Adams, Verhoost, and Hill.
That's 83 Danny Bound from Stouffville, Ontario, driving one of his best races as he challenges the number 1 car, Bray, for 3rd place. And number 28, Barber, continues to tip his car over onto 3 wheels.
But he's been doing that all day, so I guess it must be hard on the suspension. And the right front tire, too, but you can see the difference in the size of the 2 front tires. I guess the car is set up for it. I had a chance to ask Wendell Barber why he made this long trip to Barrie Speedway, and his response was quite interesting indeed. Let's talk to him now.
Well, I'm from Shelbyville, Indiana, which is just about 30 miles east of Indianapolis, and we're on the road about 17 hours, I think, getting here. So it's quite a long drive, and we just want to come up and run with these guys. We've been working pretty well on pavement with this old car we got here. And we ran in the Niagara Falls during December, I guess it was, indoors. And it felt pretty well, so I thought we'd come up and try it again.
And we're certainly glad his team could come here. We have another yellow flag as Danny Bound is spun out, and I think that's it for him. Here's the standings with McKnight, Barber, Bray, the top 3, followed by Tim Adams, Hill, Bing Metz, and Bill Macy in 7th. And we have a green flag.
And as we pick it up on the restart, McKnight leads comfortably. But we got a battle between Barber, Bray, and Tim Adams. He's the brother of the number 9 X car, Donnie. And Tim first takes Bray out, and then Barber, all on the same lap to move into 2nd place. This is just tremendous action.
It is really tight, and there's the new order. And Tim Adams really came out of the woodwork to blow away Bray and Barber, but I don't know if he can catch Dave McKnight Jr. Uh-oh, look at that, a spin out.
That's number 33, Dick Watkins, going backwards into corner number 1.
And there's another casualty, number 81, John Pinnell, who has blown his engine. And his chances here, too, at Barrie, I might add. And we'll be back with more in a moment. This is the feature race of the Budweiser Super Bowl of TQ Midgets. I'm Bill Inkall, and with me is Gary Wickett from Barrie Speedway in Ontario. And we've had an incident-marred race this afternoon with several yellow flags, but 06 Dave McKnight Jr. has avoided all the on-track problems and continues to lead in the closing stages of this 50-lap event.
Well, we got a great race going between second place 28 Barber and the number 90 Tim Adams. And Barber slides underneath him in turn number 4 to grab second spot. Just ahead is the number 75 car, Davy Carson, but he's a lap down due to an earlier spin. Carson is really determined, but at this point he's more in the way, I think, of the front runners. Barber, Adams, Hill, and Metz. That's your order.
Yeah, he really gets out of shape on the corners. I would suppose that his tires were damaged when he left the track.
And now the order is McKnight in 06, Barber 20 yards behind in the number 28 car. We got Timmy Adams 90, and then there's a great battle between 33X Metz, 35 Hill, and the number 1 Arnie Bray. There's Bray. He goes wide, exiting corner number 3, and now it's between Hill and that 33X car. You know, Bill, these cars were not supposed to have wings on for this race, but that's a pretty suspicious-looking bodywork on the front hood of Metz's car.
I'm sure you'd get an argument from Big Metz, and I'm sure the officials, if it were anything that shouldn't be on the car during this race, that they would be on his case. Wendell Barber is still in control of second place, but number 90 Adams looks like he's setting him up for a pass.
Yes, Adams can run through the corners on 4 wheels, unlike Barber, so he has that much control. And he takes Barber coming down the back straightaway, but Barber is not giving up. And he still presses hard with pedal to metal, but that left front wheel lifting up on the corners, it won't give him that ability to handle, as Craig mentioned at the top of the program.
Well, it's obvious that handling is very important at this stage of the race. The new race order with McKnight ahead of Adams, Barber, Metz, Hill, and the rest. I asked Dave McKnight if driving aggressively was important.
It's important to be aggressive, but you also have to be very careful. It's nice to fill a hole and get through, but you want to make sure that you can get through that hole before you go sticking your nose in there, because a lot of times if you get cut off or chopped off and you think it's a big enough hole and all of a sudden it isn't and you're in too deep, next thing you know you're wrecked. And I'm aggressive, but I'm real careful. I don't like to bend the equipment up. So if you don't finish the race, you're not going anywhere. And if you lead it for 48 and put it in the wall in the end of the race, you're still not going anywhere. The object is you got to finish. And if you're careful, stay out of trouble, pick your holes, you'll come out okay.
Good advice, and it seems to be working, as McKnight has been unchallenged for most of this Budweiser feature. Unlike Craig Hill, number 35, who has Arnie Bray, number 1, knocking on the door for 5th place.
Uh-oh, I think Craig's in trouble. Bray just passed him like he was standing still. Maybe we can find out what the problem is. Craig, this is Gary Wickett. Do you copy?
I'm trying to get off the road here, Gary. The fire went out going down the back straight. I'm really not too sure what happened, but it looks like she's all done for me right now. I got no fire at all.
Tough luck, Craig, but that will move everyone up 1 position.
And here's Davy Carson, number 75, trying to unlap himself as he presses the number 90 Adams, who's in second place. Carson now up alongside Adams, so lap down, but he's still pressing hard. Adams up in the rear end of him. We got a tangle at corner number 2. Adams into the wall once, and he hits it again.
Wow, did he ever? And I certainly hope that Adams is okay. It looks as if Carson just cut him off.
Yeah, I think Carson chopped him off going into corner number 1, and it looks like Adams dove into the corner, climbed up onto the rear of Carson, and they start to spin around going into corner number 2. And right here, you can actually see the Carson's helmet being hit by that left front tire.
Gary, I would suspect that at this point in the race, there is just not too much brakes left on these cars.
That's a good possibility, Bill, and quite possible that's the reason Timmy just could not stop in time to avoid that accident.
A most unfortunate accident. We have a restart after that accident. We are down to 8 cars left, running out of 22 that started this event.
Dave McKnight Jr. continues to lead with 28 Barber, holding off Arnie Bray for second. But 33X Metz is all over Bray at this point, with Macy in the number 9 car watching for an opening as we're on the final lap.
That's Dave McKnight Jr., who has dominated this 50-lap race from the opening. Last year, he was beaten out by his brother Steve on the final lap, but not today.
And just a superb race, Bill, by McKnight as he crosses the start-finish line to pick up that checkered flag. Second place going to the number 28 car, Wendell Barber. There's a gentleman never driven on this Barrie Oval before, and he's part of a group of Americans who showed very, very well here today.
There are the final standings with Metz in third, Bray, Macy, Taylor, Watkins, and number 2, Vince Cristiano, the elder statesman in the Can-Am Midget Club in 8th position. Here's Dave McKnight Jr. with his impressions.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do for an encore. I want to move on to super modifieds and maybe retire from the midgets and sell my car. And I'm looking towards Indy, so I'm hopefully going to get there someday. I'd like to thank my wife, Judy, all my sponsors, everybody involved, Brian, Gary, everybody that helped today when we wrecked earlier. This win that deserves it. Them guys did all the work, man, so they deserve the credit.
Presenting the Budweiser Super Bowl trophy to champion Dave McKnight Jr., who has won this honor twice in 3 years, is Mark Walsh of Labatt's Ontario Breweries. And impressive victory by this new champion. This is Bill Inkall and Gary Wickett. So long, everybody.